Okay, friends, let's talk about a flathead six-cylinder. This is a Studebaker engine. Studebaker used Continental and what was the other engine that they had out of Canada? Anyway, so this might be a Continental engine. We got the motor manual over there. I really think it's Studebaker. Anyway, this is what come out. So as you can see, we are broken right there. That's the lobe for the fuel pump, and we didn't have any fuel pump going on this car, but it ran. And the fuel pump load wasn't hitting the arm on the fuel pump, which goes right down there. So the camshaft was slid back like, I don't know, 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. And Dad was like, oh, the thrust plate's wore out. Well, the thrust plate wasn't wore out. It was fine. But that cam was broke. And I shimmed it. I shimmed the cam forward to get contact with the arm of the fuel pump. And when it did, it finished it off. Snapped the rest of the cam off. And then the car, of course, wouldn't run. I was like, oh, gosh, damn. Now I got to take this son of a bitch apart and get this camshaft out. Oh, my God. Well, Brother Brian kept saying, well, you need to pull the engine, you need to pull the engine. Well, we're not pulling this fucking motor. So as you can see, now when I pulled the front half out, you want to make sure you have these guys in play. Step one is going to be to loosen all of your lifters. These are solid lifters. They have a large round plate on the bottom of them, which rides on the camshaft. And it goes up. So these lifters are installed from the block, from the crankcase up into the motor. So the zip ties have to be on there. Once the camshaft comes out, these guys have to be held into place. So I didn't hold the first two into place. They fell down in the fucking block of the motor. There's a windage tray down here. So I got the first one out, and I'm fishing around down in there with a magnet and fishing and fishing and fishing, and realized, oh, there's a windage plate. And Dad's like, oh, get your camera, get your camera. I've got this, it's like a 50-foot snake cam. And I was like, hang on, I almost got it. Dick with it, dick with it, dick with it. And I was like, okay, fine. So after an hour, I go upstairs, I get the camera, and I got the camera down, that little guy right down there. Of course, there was no camshaft in it. And got down in there and saw it, picked it, pulled it up, and brought it out for the front journal. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. But no, I had to dick around for an hour. Anyway. Step one is to loosen all these lifters. It takes 2 wrenches, a 9/16 1/2 inch, and then pull them up. This is what I use. I use this guy right here. That's just handy dandy for everything. You reach down in there and pull them up, get a zip tie around them, pull that zip tie tight, and then take a screwdriver while you got your pliers on them and work that zip tie down just as far as you can go, because you want those lifters up as high as possible. Well, I guess before you get started with that bullshit, take the head off. Hopefully you don't find a broken bolt like I did. Somebody just broke that sumbitch off and then glued the fucking, what was left of the bolt on the top half into the head. I don't know who jack-dicked around with this thing, but they used obviously 3 tubes of silicone to put the covers on for the lifters. Anyway, again, you take these little handy-dandy pliers here and you get up underneath of there. You open them up a little bit because you got the lifter in there, and push the spring up a little bit, and you just do it nice and careful, easy, because you don't want to jam the spring up, then the retainers will fall out, and they'll be down in there, and you'll be fishing them fuckers out too. But get the valve up just a little bit, enough to fit 1 washer in there, get you a washer in there, and then set it back down here, and then move your pliers up here and get underneath of it here with those wedge pliers, just about like so, and they get right up under there. You don't have to worry about damaging the valve or the seat. Just be gentle. You get that up there and you get you a couple washers, and you can see we've got these valves lifted up just as far as we can lift them, just washers shimmed in every one of them. Doesn't hurt a thing. Everything's golden. So once those are up, then you can zip tie your lifters into place. Get your lifters up where they need to be. Once everybody's up and everybody's tight, then you have to fuck around with that guy. Now that is, you can see it just a little bit sticking out. That's the shaft that has the gear on it that goes inside the motor and rides here for the distributor and the oil pump. When you pull the distributor out of this engine, it does not come out with a gear attached to it. We can walk over here on this other side. You might be able to see it. I'm not sure. But we get down in here to the hole. Ah, hell, we can't even find the hole. It's dark. It's dark. Right in here, there's the hole. You can't see it, but that's about as big as the hole is, and then it chokes down to like a tube, and that guides that distributor into place. And it's got the standard blade on it, right? Just a single, almost looks like a standard screwdriver head. Anyway, when we put this back together, you have to take the clip, disassemble the oil pump, and then slide that back up in there to clear the camshaft. Once you go to reassembling it, you got to get your engine in time. Of course, you know, your cam gear and your crank gear. Get everything in time. Then you pull that back down in there. Then you slide your distributor in that hole over there. Get it down through here. And make sure that your rotor lines up on number 1 for your distributor. If not, you have to pull your distributor out a little bit. You have to slide that gear up in there, the shaft and everything, slide it up in just a little bit like it is right now, and then rotate it, and then slide it back down to where it meshes with that gear again until you get it just right so that your distributor rotor lines up with number 1 on your spark plug wire. Otherwise, you're going to be off on your distributor and nothing's going to work right. So don't put your oil pump back together until you get that puppy in time. The oil pump is the last piece of the puzzle to go back together. We've got this thing in here now, new camshaft. Make sure when you put that camshaft in, there's a thrust washer on there. Before you put that thrust washer on, put some moly grease on it. Now, everybody, I know they say, oh, this camshaft's break-in lube, break-in lube. I'll tell you that moly grease works just as well. And if you don't have either, you can use, I suppose, the red high-temperature grease. Just don't worry about putting too much on. Every lobe, every cam journal, every bearing journal, every lobe, grease that thing up. We got moly grease on this thing front to back. Now, you grease it up behind the thrust washer, in front of the thrust washer, then put your Woodruff key in. When you get the Woodruff key in, there's another plate. I don't think we got to take that Woodruff key out. There's another thrust plate, the large plate that goes on the front. That needs to have grease on the front of it because the camshaft gear is going to ride up against that thrust plate that goes on the front. Once that's back together, guess what? We get to deal with that and put this thing back together and we're ready to go. Hey, I hope this helped you out. Good luck if you have a Studebaker 6-cylinder because they are a son of a bitch.